Got a puppy. Yeah, got a puppy. How you doing? You don't know what's going on. I'm going to put you down and give you a treat. So let's talk companion NPCs. There's often a lot of concern about the DM NPC, which, to be fair, there should be concern about a DM NPC. That's an NPC that is on the player's sides, but, or side, depends. Like if you got a mixed bag of players, then maybe the NPC has to be on multiple sides to be a part of the party. Getting into the weeds there, but so it's an NPC that is a friend of the party, runs with the party, and the derogatory version of a DM NPC is one where that NPC is used by the DM to be a player within the game and act as a player, and the assumption would be they wouldn't act on knowledge that the DM has about the upcoming encounters and adventure and storyline, but that can generally be difficult, especially the more invested emotionally a human becomes in a thing, regardless of what it is. So the more emotionally invested the DM is in the NPC that they are playing as one of the player characters, then the more likely it is that they're going to show favoritism, use that PC to make themselves look good. There's and again, this is all the derogatory version of the DM NPC. The non-derogatory version, you just leave off the DM. It's a party NPC. It's an NPC that joins the party and is with the party. Has nothing to do with the DM. It's just a party NPC. A lot of times a party NPC might be an actual party NPC might be an actual PC that was run by a player that had to duck out for whatever reason. And so to keep continuity within the storyline and not have a weird, oh, where'd he go or where'd she go disappearance, you have the DM now run that player character as an NPC. And where problems arise is when party NPCs chew up more scenery than the player characters, or walk over the player characters in chewing up said scenery, which makes this a difficult tightrope for dungeon masters to walk, because on one hand you want to make any NPC at least be interesting in the way that NPC should be interesting. Like if you have a really boring, NPC character, then having them express that boringness in quick and succinct ways so not to slow down the game is a good thing to do. Like you have the players know that this NPC has some type of knowledge, and so the players say, hey, what do you know about this area? And then you can have the boring NPC, well, I know that up these mountain paths, somewhere in the valleys and the hills. And then you stop there and you tell the players. And he goes on like this for 20 minutes and then finally lets you know that there's supposed to be a hidden secret monastery in the cliffs up in these mountain paths. Usually, he thinks it's on the western path. Something like that. So you express the boringness for a few seconds, then cut that off, let the players know that their characters have to suffer through this boring situation without making the players suffer through the boring situation, and then keep the story moving. And that's all great, and it's just when, a DM starts to become too invested that they then you carry the bit on too long, DMs, where you think, oh, this is funny, so it's working, so I'll keep going, and you don't realize it's no longer funny, and people are now bored of the bit, whether it's been 20 minutes of doing the same thing in one session, or if it's just, a couple minutes every session, it can become boring for players. So, but that small thing to suffer through, especially the 1 minute every session, if the DM is just truly running it as an NPC and letting the player characters shine as the heroes of the story, or the anti-heroes, or they're the main characters one way or another of what's going on. And that's where the problems really start to come out, and being a problematic DM is if you aren't playing to the players' characters as the main characters and using your own NPC as a main character. So with all that said, what's a good number of party NPCs to include? Well, it can get a little tricky and a little sticky because do animal companions of player characters count as party NPCs? If a player character had to leave the group and then now you're stuck as the DM running their character as a party NPC, and then that party NPC has an animal companion, now you've got two party NPCs. What happens if two player characters have to leave? So now you're running two player characters. What happens if you have two party NPCs that were player characters, but the players had to duck out for one reason or another, and so now you're playing these two other NPCs, plus the party invited a wizard that they met to join them in defeating a great evil, on top of having already encountered another woman in a different castle and asked her if she wanted to join because their goals are aligned. And then also because of the situation of the campaign, they've got another kind of in the wings, ready to heed the call, that NPC that they've met. On top of that, each one has a horse that they've named. So that's 5 horses for the player characters, 2 horses for the DM NPCs from the previous party members, 1 horse from one of the newer members, and then two of them don't have horses. I bet one of them does, but there might be one without a horse. But so that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 characters, 5 of which are player characters, 9 horses named. In this, there's no animal companions that I can remember. So 5 player characters, 5 NPCs, 9 horses, maybe 10. And then, before they came to Curse of Strahd, they also had a, what are you eating, buddy? Is that a leaf? Should I take the leaf away? I gotta take a leaf away. 5 PCs, 5 NPCs, total of 10 characters, 9 horses, maybe a 10th. And then before they entered Barovia for Curse of Strahd, they also had 4 young baby, toddler owl bears that they were raising. Luckily, another companion that they met along the way and helped out is now raising those owl bears. So, how many party NPCs is too many? And, the simple answer is when you feel overwhelmed. Like right now, we'll see. My only concern is, not playing the 2 previously PC characters in a way that is correct. I want to make sure that I'm playing them as they were created and not making them into other personalities or that kind of thing. But otherwise, NPCs come and go. The interesting thing is, now that you've got a party of more than however many player characters, you've you got to figure out how you're going to do experience points. I personally hate the milestone system. If somebody uses it, that's fine, and you play your game the way you want. Don't listen to some internet weirdo talk about how they don't like something you like, or do, but don't change for them. But personally, milestone system, I don't need it. I don't want it. It feels too arbitrary for me, which is semantic, but or not semantic, but it's so is XP. It's just more granular, so it's arbitrariness on a finer scale. But what it does is the XP gives me a value back so that I know where I'm at and what I'm doing, rather than a milestone, which is like, oh, they completed. It's too storybook for me. It's too much like, oh, yes, and it's too unrealistic for me that, oh, you defeated the bad guy, so now obviously you're better and more aware in all your combat abilities. Now, if you defeat the bad guy, you should become more aware and more, enlightened by the experience for your character's personality and knowledge and worldly experience. But as far as that just inherently guarantees that you're going to be a better fighter, it's like, maybe it was all luck. Maybe you rolled all 20s, you know? That's all luck. That's not, really skill. It's if you choose how to use your fighting abilities on a battlefield, it's the tactics that you use that is becoming the skill. So yeah, I don't like milestones. It's too arbitrary, and it feels too storybook. XP system, it's great for measuring combat encounters. Outside of combat encounters, role playing, etc., it's a failed system, so you have to do some type of bootstrap to make it feel realistic, at least from my end. Like, I can't just go, oh, you're only going to level up through your experience in combats, not through your personal growth through discussing, politics or the finer points of thievery with a local thieves guild person. You've got as a DM, I feel you have to award encounter level experience points for good role-playing sessions. And it's going to be different for every DM and how they feel they should award it. Again, arbitrary, but on a more granular scale. That leaves open the ability that if I feel that it fits for this particular moment, that I could award the party enough XP to level them up for saving the king or some such encounter. That way I still leave open the options and the opportunities and those kind of choices as a DM. But it's not a guaranteed thing, and so then the players can't just expect, oh, we saved the kingdom, now we're going to level. It allows for some uncertainty for them, and so it makes them think maybe they got to, just leave some uncertainty for them. So that brings back to the NPCs, and definitely if the NPCs are helping in a combat encounter, they're getting a share of that XP. I don't care what it says, like there's some things in, Curse of Strahd, there's some NPCs where it says, well, they don't get a share in the experience, but this NPC gets a share in the... Nah, man, they get shares in experience. They're just going to, maybe it won't quote unquote level them up because, 5th edition doesn't work that way, but it could give them a boon or a magical ability or some other, life awakening experience to get an extra attack in, or something like that. So, yeah, they're going to get a share of the XP. And, hi, baby. How you doing? Want to come up and say hi again? Oh, what a good boy. What a good boy. Yeah? Huh? Hi. Yeah. Hello. The NPCs are going to get a share of the experience points, which is, a double-edged sword. It means the players are going to be going up in level slower over the sessions, but it also means, especially if running a standard, or if running a standard, pre-published campaign setting, then, this party is technically, if it's 10 PCs, it's 2 parties. It's the equivalent. I mean, sure, one of them isn't there currently, so then that drops it down. But they found a prisoner who may be able to help or may not. But let's assume not. So that's 9. So then, yeah, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, there's already one party NPC, so that makes it 11. There's 11 of them, right? So there's already been one party NPC who they picked up long time ago, who's a level below the rest of the party. So yeah, so that's 5, 6, and then 7, 8, and then 9. Yeah, but that still makes it 9, because two of the other NPCs that they picked up in Barovia that they befriended are hanging back at a different location, and so there's 9 of them, 5 of which are player characters. And so, but that's 2 parties. A party is on average 4 player characters. And so you've got 2 parties, no clerics, but 2 parties. And yeah, so that means you're able to sweep through the enemies that would be normally, a mild challenge for your characters at your current level. Yeah, you're sweeping through them. And that's okay too. Like, the players are rewarded in the ease in which they are able to go through combat encounters by having a large party. And the trade-off is they don't level as fast. So, that's kind of an interesting. They don't level as fast, but it keeps them in the same level, but they're able to do more encounters. So story-wise, more is happening. And that's just considering if they keep within their, character level encounters. If they go to areas where higher level or lower level, then it's going to be harder and easier, respectively, obviously. Now, as a DM, like animal companions, I always feel like they should be played by the player characters. They should get the choice in how to control them. And then that way it's not on me when the animal companion gets eaten, crushed, or, stabbed through the brains. Not on me. You were controlling them. Woo! So, yeah, but, and it also takes the load off where I don't have to remember. Because I'm always forgetting the player character's horses. Like, as a DM, I don't care about their horses. If they, which is why they get to control them. Because I'm going to forget. I'm going to, and it's funny because they get angry when they notice. I mean, not angry, they notice and speak out when they see a tragedy befall a horse when they're not in control of it. But then when they are in control of it, they, I don't know. I think most people tend to forget about horses in their combats. But of course, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the one that has forgotten, and now I've taught all my players that is the way, and they now forget their horses. And we're all forgetting our horses, and all the horses are now forgotten, sinking into some mental swamp of sorrow. So anyway, that's kind of the basics of how to handle NPCs, is handle them until they're uncomfortable, and then, figure out ways for them to leave within the context of the campaign world. So, like right now, there's the two-party NPCs, and it would make everyone very sad if they were just abandoned in the lands of Barovia. And while it has been like there's been a while where other players have controlled these party NPCs who used to be other player characters, and now I think I controlled them for a while in the beginning, and now I'm taking back control, especially in combat, of their actions and whatnot. So it's gone back and forth, and the main reason is because none of us want to abandon to the lands of Barovia these two characters. It would be sad, and then I would ultimately argue that neither one of the characters, those NPCs, originally player characters, would want to be abandoned. Like, it just makes complete sense for them to want to continue to try to figure a way out of Barovia. So that's what makes sense, and because that's what makes sense, and because we're all trying to make sure that we're all trying to honor that reality of those characters, that that we're all we're willing to put up with. Forgot to have them say something during this encounter. Forgot they were there during this encounter, or during this moment in the game. Oh yeah, it would have made sense. We would have needed an extra thing of rations because they're there. So they're there. So yeah, everybody's pretty forgiving when that happens because we're all doing our best. So when the comedy is in my Pathfinder game, Pathfinder Second Edition, there's one NPC. It's a party NPC because there's one party NPC. There's a lot of other NPCs, obviously, but there's one party NPC from a player that isn't able to make it most nights, and so yeah, we just kind of generally control his character, and but that's the only one. So it's a real weird difference to go from one game where I'm running it for 5 other players plus up to 11 total characters versus another campaign where it's 3 players, sometimes a 4th, and no other party NPCs other than that 1/4. Yeah, so this is just how I handle it video, and yeah, it's literally as best as I can until I can't, and then something will have to give and shuffle things around. But until then, my biggest concern is player boredom. The larger the party gets with NPCs, the less time the player characters have on their turn, or for their like they'll have the same amount of time on their turn but less turns in a session, or they will just have less time on their turns, or some combination of the science checks out. Yeah, that's the biggest concern, is are the players getting bored having to sit through, especially if in combat, if the initiative order stacks up with 3 or 4 of the party NPCs plus the enemies all right kind of in the center, and then the player characters faster or slower, and then I'm doing 5 rounds as fast as I can to get through to be able to get to the other players. And sometimes you really need to sit and think for a couple seconds because you're switching gears between these characters, and then you switch over to a class you're not as familiar with, and you've got to figure out what ability is best used in this situation, because you don't want to shortchange the rest of the party on abilities to help them through this combat. I mean, I want the players to cause their own TPK. I don't want to be the one that causes the TPK, if that makes sense. So, uh, new puppy, and because of that, I'm going to end it here, because I don't know how I'm going to edit all this in time. And he wants to go out to the bathroom. So I'm ending here. Have a great day. Have a great week. May your games go wonderfully and be full of drama and fear. Fun fear. And and may all your puppy bites be very surfacey and not draw blood, let alone hit nerves.